The air recycler coughed again. That sound, half wheeze, half groan, had become the rhythm of survival on Outpost Halo 9, a half-buried dome clinging to the desert moon of Virella. The human colonies had abandoned it after the war, but one man stayed. Rian Voss tightened the oxygen seals around his chest valve, sweat running down the back of his neck inside the rebreather suit. He leaned on the console, watching the red warning lights blink like dying stars. Oxygen, 9%. Power cells, critical. Hope, statistically irrelevant. And still, he stayed. There was no one left to wait for. His wife and daughter had died in a flash burn 2 years ago, victims of a supposed alien attack that left no survivors. Except him, and later no answers, just silence. He kept the dome going for one reason. It was the last working structure in the sector. The last shelter in a war-scarred wasteland. That, and he couldn't bring himself to leave where they were buried. He was refilling a depleted air canister when the outer proximity alarm chimed, a slow, hollow bong. Not satellite debris, not a sensor glitch. Movement. Outside, Ryan grabbed the last working scope from the equipment bin and swept it toward the cracked horizon. Dust, heat waves, then figures. 4, 5, maybe 6. Humanoid silhouettes, staggering, armor scorched, one being carried by the others. And then the blue. His fingers tightened on the scope. Aliens. They came through the storm like ghosts, limping, bleeding, scanning the landscape with weary desperation. One of them collapsed briefly on his knees, then forced himself upright. At the front of the group walked a tall alien female, her skin a deep ocean blue veined with streaks of luminous teal. Her armor was fractured. Her shoulder glowed faintly where a wound bled gas instead of blood. She walked like a commander who'd lost too many soldiers and still refused to fall. Ryan had every reason to hate her, and yet, something in the way she moved, controlled, protective, furious, hit him like a silent impact. He opened the hatch. The wind howled as the decompression field flickered. Dust swept across the dome's skeletal solar arrays. The aliens froze 40 feet away, bracing for a trap. Their weapons were drawn, barely functional pulse lances, overheated and cracked, but Ryan didn't raise a weapon. He didn't shout. Instead, he rolled an oxygen tank across the ground toward them, one of the last 3 still partially full. The tank clanked once and settled. The aliens stared. So did she, the leader. Her eyes, a piercing violet black, locked onto his. Suspicion radiated off her like heat. She didn't speak. Not yet. The others shifted, glancing between the tank and her. One, younger, stockier, raised his weapon slightly. A defensive posture. Rian took one slow step back, both hands raised. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "You need air. That's all that matters." Still, no one moved. Then she stepped forward. Her name wasn't spoken, but Ryan would later learn it. Vailari. A squad leader in the shattered Theron resistance. The faction blamed for attacks across the sector. The same one blamed for the deaths of Ryan's family. She knelt stiffly, her injured arm trembling, and picked up the oxygen tank. For a moment, she just held it, watching him, searching his face. Then she activated the valve. Gas hissed. She inhaled, slowly, once, twice, and her shoulders dropped. Relief wasn't visible, not fully, but something uncoiled inside her. She passed the tank to the youngest male. They all drank, fast, clumsily, like drowning soldiers clutching at air. Rian didn't move. When the tank was half drained, Vailari walked toward him, 10 feet, 6, 3. Close enough that he saw her jaw tremble, not from fear. From pain, she held out the tank. He didn't take it. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was hoarse, thickly accented, not hostile, not yet. He didn't speak for a moment. His eyes flicked to the sky, then to her shoulder where alien blood slowly evaporated. "You needed it," he said. Vailari's gaze narrowed. "And?" Ryan exhaled. "That's all." Behind her, one of the younger aliens muttered something. It sounded like a warning. Vailari didn't look away. "You are human." "We are not." "Why give?" "Because I've been where you are," he paused. "And because, if I don't help now, I'm no better than the ones who started this. Her expression flickered. Something unreadable passed across it. Then she nodded. Once. That was the beginning. He brought them inside. The dome's pressure stabilized as they crossed the threshold. The others hesitated, their weapons still clenched. Ryan gestured to a storage bay. Clean floor. Medical kit. Heat. I won't lock the door, he said. You're free to leave any time. Vailari studied the room before entering. Every step she took left a smear of teal on the floor. She spoke briefly to her team, a few harsh syllables in a language Rian didn't understand. They settled in. No trust, but no attack. Later that night, if you could call artificial moonlight night, Ryan patched her shoulder. Her skin was warmer than expected. It shimmered faintly under the sterilization light. When his gloved hand brushed too close, she stiffened. Don't touch, she warned. He pulled back. Just trying to stop the bleed. You don't owe us. Neither do you. That silenced her. A few hours later, as Ryan drifted half asleep beside the generator, the youngest alien sat near the entrance, eyes fixed on the corridor like a loyal hound. Vailari appeared again. Her limp was worse. She stood in front of him, silhouetted by the dome's cracked skylight. You lost someone? She asked. He opened his eyes. Yes. Family? He nodded. Wife. Daughter. They died in a mining colony fire 2 years ago. Her face shifted. The cold lines softened, but only slightly. My mate, she said quietly. And sister's child died. By your soldiers. She sat down on the floor beside him. Not close, but not far. The silence between them was no longer empty. It was shared. The silence inside the dome wasn't peace. It was the kind that followed survival. Fragile, uncertain, tight as a tripwire. Vailari's squad had taken shelter in the empty hydroponics chamber. The plants were long dead. Now metallic panels and discarded wiring were all that remained. They sat in a semicircle, conserving energy, watching him like wolves eyeing a wounded deer. Ryan moved with calculated calm, keeping distance, not showing fear, but not offering comfort either. He didn't trust them. And they didn't trust him. Only Vailari lingered near the central node where the recycler hummed. Barely. She stood alone, one hand resting on the console as if anchoring herself. The glow of her wounded shoulder cast flickering blue light across her collarbone. Her eyes tracked him whenever he passed, not hostile. Just studying. She didn't ask for more oxygen. She didn't ask anything, until the dome lights flickered. The power grid, stretched thin and patched together with makeshift batteries, pulsed a dim warning. Ryan tapped the diagnostics pad. The levels were dropping faster than they should. Too much strain from the extra bodies pulling air. He cursed softly under his breath. Vailari's voice came from behind him. Your machine dying? He didn't turn. It was dying before you got here. Now it's just dying faster. Silence. Then, her footsteps. Bare. Soft. But present. He glanced over his shoulder, and she was right there, scanning the display with that intense stare of hers. You stay here alone, she said. It wasn't a question. I had nowhere else to go. Everyone has somewhere. He paused, then said, Not when everyone's dead. Her expression shifted, not pity, but something quieter. Recognition. I lost my family in a fire, Ryan added. The kind of fire started by men who wanted land and needed war to get it. Her gaze hardened. You blame my kind? I used to. Do you still? Ryan turned fully now, facing her. They were just a few feet apart, separated only by unspoken grief. I found the data log 6 months later, he said. Encrypted footage. Humans dressed like your people. They torched the mining colony from the inside out. Then they blamed you. Vailari didn't speak, but the tension in her shoulders slackened. He saw her hand twitch, like she almost wanted to reach for something but stopped. They did the same to us, she finally said. Same trick, same blood. They burned one of our outposts, claimed it was retaliation, started a spiral. By the time we realized it was too late. That's the thing about war, Ryan said. It doesn't need truth. Just fuel. Her eyes glimmered in the flickering light. For a long time, neither of them moved. It was an hour later when it happened. The dome's long-range sensor chirped. Soft, barely audible, a proximity ping. Rian rushed to the scope. Dread sinking like ice in his chest, human movement. One heat signature, alone, weak, moving erratically. He grabbed his pulse scanner and ran to the hatch. She collapsed 20 feet from the door, a girl barely out of her teens. Her skin covered in ash, her clothes torn, eyes wild with panic. Ryan dropped to one knee beside her, cradling her shoulder. "You're safe," he said. "You're okay. Just breathe." She flinched violently at his touch, but her gaze locked onto his. You're human?" she rasped. "Yes." Then she saw behind him and screamed because Vailari stood in the doorway, backlit by the artificial light, her tall silhouette unmistakably alien. No, please. Don't let them near me!" The girl tried to crawl backward. Panic twisted her face. "Wait," Ryan said. "She's not going to hurt you. Listen to me. She's one of them. They attacked us. Morrison Station is gone." Ryan froze. Morrison Station, that's what the settlers said had been attacked 2 days ago. The same attack they'd blamed on Vailari's people. The reason human patrols were hunting them now. But her group had been here the entire time, wounded, recovering. Rian helped the girl sit up. "What's your name?" "Kieran," she whispered. "I ran. My brother told me to run." "I didn't even see who shot him. I just heard the screams." She looked over at Vailari again. Her voice cracked. "Why is she here?" Before Rian could answer, Vailari stepped forward. "We did not attack Morrison," she said, her voice even but cold. "We have been here, dying," Kieran blinked. "But Garrick Fisk said, he said it was your kind." Fisk. The name hit Ryan like a blow. Commander Garrick Fisk, Terran coalition officer. Old war dog with too many scars and too much power. Fisk had been the one blaming Vailari's group for the attack. He was the reason patrols had orders to shoot on sight. Ryan stood up. He lied. They were framed, just like you were. Kieran shook her head, confused, scared, trying to believe, but drowning in the fear she'd been raised on. Then the second alarm went off. Multiple signals. Rian turned to the console. His jaw clenched. 2 squads inbound, from opposite directions, one human the other. Alien Vailari stepped beside him. "They followed our trail," she said grimly. "If they see us here, with you, with her, they will attack. And the humans will attack too," Ryan added. Kieran was shaking. "What do we do?" "There was only one answer. We stopped them," Ryan said quietly. "All of them. Before more people die for someone else's war." Vailari met his eyes. He saw it again. Not suspicion, conviction, and something more. The emergency beacon hadn't been lit in 20 years. Rian stared at the faded control panel inside the main console room. Its warning lights blinking red through the layer of dust. The dome's comm array was still mostly intact. Buried beneath it was a relic, an ancient interspecies peace protocol, encoded into the early colonial transmissions after the First Accord War. 3 flares, 2, 1. A smoke sequence designed to be unmistakable, a universal request. "We come to talk." No weapons, no lies, a relic, a dream, and their only chance. Vailari stood beside him, her wounded arm wrapped in a new polymer bandage, her body bruised but upright. "My people will see it," she said. "They will understand what it means." "I hope. And yours?" she asked, nodding to Kieran, who stood silently at the edge of the room, hugging herself. Ryan looked at the girl. She had stopped shaking. But something inside her had changed. Grief, maybe, or rage trying to find direction. "They'll see it," Ryan said. "But they won't all care," Vailari exhaled through her nose. "Then we need to make them care." Ryan reached for the ignition switch. They built the beacon just outside the dome, in full view of the cracked horizon. They used burnable synthetics, fused greenwood fiber, and oilcloth soaked in reactor coolant, anything to create thick-colored smoke. Kieran helped stack the canisters. Vailari gave commands to her squad, brief, sharp, confident. She'd slipped fully into command mode now. But every so often her eyes drifted to Ryan. He noticed, and for the first time, he didn't look away. They lit the fire. 3 thick columns of colored smoke spiraled into the pale sky. Then 2, then 1. The old signal, a call to stand down. A call to talk. A call to hope, and then the horizon answered. To the north, through the skeletal ridge of wind-carved rock, came shadows moving fast. Violari's people. Her kind. Warriors in sleek black and blue armor, 20 at least. Their leader tall and horned, with scars running from chin to throat. To the south, behind a ridge of dunes, came the others, human riders. Dust trails. Pulse rifles mounted on shoulder rigs. In front, a familiar face, Garrick Fisk. Rian's heart sank. He glanced at Kieran. Her expression went pale. Vailari's voice was low. Your enemy comes. Rian's jaw clenched. No, ours. The two groups approached the beacon slowly. Neither raised weapons. But none of them holstered either. The air shimmered with tension. 50 lives stood on the knife's edge of mistrust. Ryan stepped forward into the center between both armies. As the last of the smoke signals curled into the sky, Vailari moved beside him, then Kieran, and then something miraculous. From both sides, slowly, cautiously, others stepped forward. A human soldier. An alien scout. A mechanic. A wounded runner. They came forward, not as attackers. As witnesses, they were tired. Tired of killing. Tired of dying. Tired of believing lies. Fisk arrived last. He dismounted, scanning the scene with cold, calculating eyes. He saw Vailari. He saw Ryan. He saw the smoke. He smiled. Quite the show, he said. Didn't think you'd still be alive, Voss. I'm alive because of them, Ryan replied, voice sharp. Fisk's smile flickered. They attacked Morrison, Fisk said. We all know it. They didn't, Kieran snapped. I saw them. The raiders weren't like her. They moved different. Spoke different. You're confused, Fisk said flatly. Shock trauma. Not your fault. I know what I saw, she shouted. Fisk's eyes turned cold. Then Vailari stepped forward. If we came to kill, you'd be dead, she said. You know this. Fisk's hand moved slightly toward his weapon. Just slightly, Rian saw it. Don't. Fisk's jaw tightened. You're siding with monsters, Ryan. I'm siding with the truth. And what's that? That someone has been playing both sides.
Dressing humans like aliens.
Aliens like humans. Staging raids. Starting fires. Killing innocents. Just to keep the war going. A murmur passed through the crowd. Fisk's lip curled. And you think that's me? I think the man who profits from every abandoned colony might have questions to answer, Ryan said. You bought the land after the miners died. Just like you tried to buy Morrison. You always show up last and after the bodies fall. For a long moment, no one moved. Then one of Fisk's own men, a younger soldier, stepped forward. His name tag read Collins. I saw him, Collins said, voice trembling. 2 days before Morrison burned. He was talking to off-world mercs. They were unloading gear, unmarked weapons, mimic suits. Fisk turned slowly. You traitorous little... Another soldier moved between them. Then another. Then one of Vailari's warriors lowered her weapon. Rian stepped further into the space. You see it now, don't you? This war, it's not about enemies. It's about power, resources, control. Vailari looked at her commander. Said something in her native tongue. The elder warrior's gaze drifted to the sky, then to the faces in the crowd. And he nodded. Then he lowered his weapon. Fisk pulled his gun, but he never fired. A blast knocked it from his hand. Not from Ryan. Not from Vailari, but from Collins. And that was the end. Fisk was surrounded, disarmed, and dragged to the center. His empire built on hate crumbled in a single moment of unity. Ryan knelt beside him. You tried to kill peace, he said. But you forgot something, Fisk spat. What? That compassion can be more dangerous than war. They marched Fisk away, guarded by both humans and aliens. The war wasn't over, but something had changed. As the twin moons rose above the ravaged horizon, Ryan stood by the edge of the dome, watching the alien transport ships hover silently overhead. Beside him, Vailari stood in the glow of the beacon, her arms crossed, her eyes calm. You could have let me die, she said quietly. You could have killed me, he replied. I still might, she said. Then smirked, but not today. He looked at her, really looked. For the first time, she wasn't just an alien. She was a person, hurt, scarred, fierce, and brave enough to trust when she had every reason not to. "You still don't believe in peace?" he asked. She looked at him. "I believe in you." The peace was a lie. It lasted only an hour. After Fisk was taken into custody by both sides, guarded by Valerie's warriors and human patrol volunteers like Collins, there was a strange heavy quiet across the outpost. Not relief, not celebration. It was the stillness before lightning strikes. Ryan stood on the platform near the upper dome rim, calibrating the outbound signal relay, a broadcast to nearby colonies, warning them of the truth. The data packet included audio logs, visual recordings, and Kieran's sworn testimony, enough to spark investigations. Valeri approached quietly, watching him work. "You could have left," she said. He didn't turn. "I could have. But you didn't. I gave you oxygen, remember?" he said softly. "And then you gave me reason to breathe again," she said. That made him look at her. Her wounds were healing, but not all the way. She'd removed most of the armor, now dressed in a tactical bodysuit from Ryan's emergency med clinic. Her silver blue hair was tied back. Her shoulders were tense, always aware of danger. But in her eyes, the edges were softer now, more human than he ever expected. In the lower corridor, Kieran was reviewing the final data burst. Collins stood nearby, still nervously checking the ridgeline. Something had been bothering him for the last 20 minutes. "Ryan," he called up toward the platform. "We've got movement," Valeri tensed. "Yours or mine?" "Not either," Collins said. "Too fast. No identification. No markings." Ryan squinted toward the horizon. A dust cloud rose in the east. Then came the pulse echo, high-frequency jammers. Weaponized. Someone was jamming their signal. "Get inside," Ryan ordered. Too late. Explosions tore through the air. Not from missiles, but kinetic disruptors. Tech that only black market mercenaries used. The kind that didn't care about flags or treaties. Fisk's backup. "They're trying to silence us," Valeri growled. "Burn the truth before it reaches anyone." "They'll kill everyone," Kieran whispered. "No witnesses." "Just like Morrison." Rian locked eyes with Valeri. "How many oxygen tanks left?" "4, she said. "2 are full. Then we hold the dome. As long as we have breath, we hold." The mercs came in fast. Silent skimmers painted matte black, no transponders. They moved like shadows through the wind. But Valeri's warriors were already moving. So were the humans. Together, Collins took up position behind the northern emitter tower. Valeri issued rapid-fire commands in her native tongue. Kieran scrambled to seal the inner corridor. And Ryan, he armed the emergency fusion core. The first wave hit the outer rim. Pulse blades shredding the solar arrays, burning through defense panels. Valeri tackled Rian just in time as one of the beams sliced the railing where his head had been. "You're not dying before I do," she snapped. "I wasn't planning to," he muttered, gripping her arm as they ducked behind the panel. She grinned. Even in a firefight, she grinned. The fight was chaos. Alien warriors and human soldiers fought side by side, protecting the dome, shielding Kieran, holding the relay tower long enough to complete the transmission. Every bullet and plasma bolt bought another second of truth reaching the stars. Valeri moved like lightning, wounded but precise. Every movement meant survival. Every command saved someone's life. She bled, but didn't stop. Ryan watched her move, and something cracked open in his chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't adrenaline. It was hope. Then he saw Fisk, still shackled, but dragging himself toward a fallen skimmer. Ryan raced across the field, too late. Fisk had found a detonator, a remote, pointed at the core of the dome. "A suicide switch? One push!" Fisk snarled, face twisted with fury. "And no one remembers what happened here." "You don't win," Ryan said. Fisk smirked. "I don't have to. I just have to make sure you don't either." But before he could press it, Valeri shot his hand. A clean plasma bolt vaporized the detonator. Fisk howled, clutched his arm, fell back, bleeding and broken. She stood over him, no hate in her face, just finality. "You had your oxygen," she said. You used it to lie. Silence fell. The mercs retreated. The relay tower blinked green, transmission complete. The truth was out. Later, inside the dome, Ryan sat beside the inner core stabilizer. His arm wrapped, his lip bloodied, his breath shallow. Vailari sat across from him, legs folded, eyes calm. Wounds dressed. You stayed, she said. So did you. You gave me your last full tank. You gave me your last chance. A long pause. He looked at her. Not as a commander, not as a warrior, not even as an alien, but as a mirror of himself. You breathed like us, he said. You bleed like us, she smiled faintly. We grieve like you, he nodded. And maybe we can live like you. No, she said, leaning in. With, not like, with. She reached out, her hand brushing his shoulder, fingers warm, hesitant. He didn't flinch. For the first time in years, he let himself feel. They sat like that, two survivors, two enemies, two people, bound not by blood or tribe, but by the shared breath of a war that tried to kill them both, and failed. The fire was out, not the kind that burned buildings or ravaged worlds, that had ended in silence, somewhere between the broken skimmers and melted guns. This fire was quieter. It burned in the space between Rian and Vailari, where breath had once been measured in numbers, in scarcity, in suspicion. Now it was just breath, shared, free, alive. The dome had survived, barely. Cracked skylights let filtered starlight spill onto the floor where they sat. Surrounded by repair kits and empty water jugs, the beacon still blinked green. The signal had been received, confirmed. Colonial networks were already transmitting the truth. About Fisk, about the false raids, about the cycle of hate designed by greedy men playing both sides of war. It wouldn't undo the dead, but it was a beginning. Vailari sat cross-legged near the hydrocore, her breathing slow, her wounded arm wrapped in Ryan's emergency mesh. The glow in her veins had softened, still beautiful, still alien, but no longer threatening. Ryan poured water into 2 heat flasks, one for her, one for him. She accepted it in silence, no speeches, no declarations, just warmth. And Air Kirin had already left. A rescue skiff had arrived that morning, carrying 3 other survivors from Morrison Station. She had gone with them, not in fear, not in flight, but as a witness, to tell the story of what really happened, to speak the names of those who died, and honor the ones who survived. She had hugged Ryan tightly before leaving, then looked at Vailari, and nodded. The gesture had said more than words. I should leave, Vailari said. Rian didn't respond immediately. He simply turned a spanner in his hand. Not working, just keeping it there. Your people need you? They do, she replied. But not the way they did before. And you? She tilted her head. What do you mean? Do you still see me as the enemy? Vailari smiled. The real kind. Small, sad, honest. No, she said. I see you as the air we forgot we needed, he blinked. That might be the strangest compliment I've ever gotten. Then I will try harder. They both chuckled, and the silence after was not empty. Outside, the desert moon exhaled. Wind moved across the wreckage like fingers brushing old bones. Rian walked with Vailari to the dome's edge. Her ship, salvaged from the crashed transport, had been patched together with his parts, her crew's tech, and sheer stubbornness. She stood at the ramp. He didn't try to stop her. I don't know what comes next, he said. She nodded. You don't have to. He hesitated. When the next fire comes, I hope we're not on opposite sides again. Vailari looked at him. The sky caught in her eyes, stars and smoke and something unspoken. We won't be, she said. Not if we both remember what we breathed here. She touched the side of his face, just 2 fingers, gentle. I was dying, she said. And you gave me air, he swallowed. You gave me a reason to keep filling my lungs. Her smile lingered. Then she turned and walked into her ship. The ramp hissed closed. The engines rose in silence, and just before, the ship broke through the upper cloud layer. She turned in the viewport and raised her hand. 1 month later, Dome had been repaired, reinforced, not for war, for visitors. Colonists came to see the place where the first truce had happened. Humans, aliens, children born of both. There was no flag. No anthem. No speeches. But there was a plaque outside the well that read, "Oxygen was given freely, and the war changed forever." Rian stood alone by the edge of the ridge one night, wind brushing his jacket, hands buried in his pockets. He still thought of Rebecca and Ellie, but not with guilt now, with memory and with peace. A shadow appeared beside him, no sound, no footfall. He smiled without turning. "Took you long enough." Vailari stepped beside him, not in armor, in plain clothes. A translator band around her neck, her eyes as alive as the stars. "You left the air on," she said. "Didn't know if you'd need it. I did." He finally turned, and this time, they didn't need to say anything. He held out his hand. She took it. They walked back toward the dome, where children laughed in the background, and stories were still being told. Because sometimes, peace doesn't begin with treaties. It begins with one act of defiance. One human, one alien, one oxygen tank, and the choice to see a person instead of an enemy.